everyone and welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. Start this video by saying I cannot believe we're already in June. It feels like it should be like March, but instead we're in the middle of a heat wave. It's June and I'm slightly freaking out, I'm not gonna lie, but it does mean I can do the mid-year book freakout tag, so let's just get into it and stop worrying about how fast time is going. Question number 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2021, and I have a couple for this. The first one I'm going to mention quickly is Legendborn. This is a contemporary King Arthur retelling and it was fantastic. I'm also going to say Slay, which is a actual contemporary book that's a straight contemporary and it's only got slight sci-fi elements to it, and it brought up some really interesting and important conversations and it really taught me a lot, and it was just generally a really good book, which made me completely sort of reevaluate whether or not contemporaries may be for me or not, and that is saying something because I'm very stuck in my ways at this point. I've also got to mention Not Even Bones, which was an incredible book set in obviously our world as well, but this was a fantasy where monsters and everything are actually not in hiding and they are very much out in the open, and what happens when one girl who it appears normal is sent to the market to be sold off. And that was also fantastic. It was dark, it was twisty, it just blew my mind essentially. And then I've also got to mention Middle Game, which is a sci-fi fantasy type book which is all about twins and alchemy and stuff like this, and it was complicated, it was wibbly wobbly timey-wimey-esque, and I just fell in love with it essentially. It was truly incredible. And then the final one I also have to mention is Once and Future Witches, which was an incredible historical fantasy focusing on witchery and women fighting back and everything else. I just adored it. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2021. It's got to be Tone of Voice. I waited like 2 years to read this for no reason whatsoever further than the fact that I'm just a disorganised mess essentially, but I loved it. I loved being back in the world of the Xandri. I loved having like reading own voices, autism rep as well, which means so much to me, and it was just truly incredible. It was truly incredible and I'm just in love with it essentially, as always. Question number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. Lost in the Neverwoods. Admittedly this was delayed for me by 2 months, so I only got it last month, but I am absolutely desperate to read this one. It is a Peter Pan retelling, and while that isn't usually my thing in terms of the actual fairy tale it's based on, I am really desperate to read this. Question number 4 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I've got 3. The first one is The Foul Twins Get What They Deserve, because this is the third one in the Foul Twins series. I love the Foul Twins a hell of a lot. They make me really happy. They're books are completely madcap and off the wall, and I love the Artemis Fowl series as well, and it's just great to be in that world again essentially, so I cannot wait for that. I also cannot wait for the Hellfire Gala and the rest of the new X-Men stuff that's coming out over the next couple of months. I am admittedly still behind. I've still got to read the last 6 volumes of Dawn of X, if I remember rightly, and Reign of X, and a couple of other things first, but I am so excited to catch up and get to the Hellfire Gala because everything I've seen about it so far is just blowing my mind essentially, and I cannot wait to get to it. And then finally I have Extraordinary as well, which is also a comic that is based in the world of Vicious and Vengeful, and I just love that series. It's my favourite series of all time and I just cannot wait to read this comic as well and be back in that world again. Question number 5 is your biggest disappointment of the year, and hands down that has to be Ultimates by Mark Millar, because I was so looking forward to this one. It was an alternate look on the Avengers and if things had happened differently, and unfortunately this was a sexist, racist, homophobic mess that also took shots at RDJ during his drug problem years as well. There was homophobia, racism, sexism, like I said, marital abuse that was never solved whatsoever, and the guy didn't get any sort of repercussions for this. He wasn't even arrested. You had a lot of sexist comments. You had the Hulk like hunting down a woman and rampaging and killing a whole load of people to try and get to his ex-girlfriend who rejected him for quite frankly valid reasons, and was basically saying he was going to show her what a real man was as the Hulk by basically sexually assaulting her. There was a whole load of other things. I go into more detail of it in the video I will link up top, so you can check it out in full if you want to see it, but essentially it was a mess and I absolutely hated it, and I am so disappointed that it was ever even printed, quite frankly. Question number 6 though was the biggest surprise, and that has to be Slay, because like I said, it literally made me reevaluate whether or not contemporaries were actually for me, because I for years have been like, no, contemporaries aren't for me whatsoever, I don't do contemporary, I'm here for fantasy and sci-fi and that's basically it. But this one made me reevaluate, because it turns out I can read contemporary as long as there's some level of sci-fi element, even if it's just based in video games or something like this, which is really, really shocking. And I was expecting to really not like this book, but I ended up really, really, really enjoying it, and I learned a hell of a lot from this book as well, and I highly recommend it just in general, and it was a real big surprise to me, quite frankly, and I absolutely loved it. Question number 7 is your newest favourite author, and this is either debut or new to you. For debut, I've got Tracy Dion, who wrote Legendborn, because this one, in terms of characters, world building, storyline, everything was absolutely incredible and blew my mind in so many ways, and it was just, had me hooked within like a page, and it was just, it blew my mind essentially. It is an incredible read. Question number 8 is your newest fictional crush, and I don't really have fictional crushes anymore, quite frankly, so I can't really answer that. Can I possibly say The Darkling though, thanks to the Shadow and Bone TV series, because that could count. But apart from that, I don't really have anything. I've just had several fictional crushes sort of reignited thanks to TV shows, but that's about it, so I'm not going there. But I've got to say probably The Darkling if you count the TV show, but apart from that, I don't really have any. Question number 9 is your newest favourite fictional character. It's got to be Nita from Not Even Bones. I thought she was absolutely incredible in terms of the fact that she was basically like Dexter meets Wednesday Addams, and I loved that for her, and I loved basically her entire storyline and everything. I really enjoyed her as a character, and she's definitely one of my new favourites. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry, and I don't really cry at books, so moving on. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and I'm going to say the Aru Shah series. This one wasn't my favourite out of the series, but I do still really, really enjoy this series, and it does make me really happy to read it. But then I'm also going to mention Strange Academy quickly as well, because quite frankly that book made me really happy, because I've been waiting for it since last September, and I finally got my hands on it, and it was awesome. Question number 12 is your favourite book to TV adaptation, and I have 2 for this. The first one is Shadow and Bone. I have not read the original Shadow and Bone trilogy, but I have read the Six of Crows duology, and I loved this series. It was perfectly cast, to say the least, especially with Kaz, Nej and Jesper. They were perfection in their casting. Absolutely loved it. I know there are problems surrounding the TV show as well, which I'll leave a link to articles if I can find them about this as well, so you can check that out so you're fully informed for it. But I truly absolutely adored this series. It was incredible. And then the other one I also have to mention is Lucifer, which is based on the Sandman comics, and I loved this one as well. Obviously I did. I'm a hardcore Lucifer fan at this point, but this show was truly incredible, and I'm still thinking about it now. It was truly incredible. Question number 13 is your favourite video you've done this year, and I've got to admit it's got to be all my TBR assembles, because I worked so hard on this board, and I've just loved making like the board, the prompts and everything else, and just doing it every single month, and also quoting famous MCU lines at the beginning of every single video, because I wanted the excuse to do that, and I'm so glad I got one. Question number 14 is the most beautiful cover you've got this year. I have a couple for this. The first one is Aru Shah. You can't see that, but it's a very, very pretty cover, quite frankly. I've then also got Lost in the Netherwoods. I'm loving, like, can you see that? There we go. The different, like, silhouettes on either side. I'm loving that. I've then also got the Hat Makers, because shiny, but then the Under the Dust Jacket art is also absolutely stunning. And then finally I've also got to mention Amari and the Night Brothers. There you go, you can see that now. And it's because this is all very shiny, and then that is the Under the Dust Jacket art, and I absolutely love it, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. Literally, when I got these from Waypoint, which I'll also leave a link to down below, my jaw dropped. Quite frankly, my jaw absolutely dropped. It was truly gorgeous. And question number 15, the final question, is what books do you need to read before the end of the year? So I'm just going to quickly consult my bullet journal, because I have a lot here. Now, generally in terms of series, I have a couple of books in a few series I want to read. So I want to read a few more in the Shadowhunters series. Essentially, I just want to get up to the Bane Chronicles and finish that one, so then next year I can focus on the Dark Artificer Artifices. Obviously if I get further than that, brilliant, but I just want to get up to where next year I can start the Dark Artifices essentially. I also want to read European Travel for Monstrous Gentlewomen, which is the sequel to The Strange Case of the Alchemist also, because I haven't read that one yet and I've been waiting like 2 years now. Despite owning it, I need to actually get round to it. I've also got The Sylvan Serpents, which is the next book in the Gilded Wolf series. I also want to complete the Edge Chronicles. At the very least I want to read the Clash of the Sky Galleon, so then next year I can read the Twig trilogy at last. I also want to carry on reading the Discworld because it's the Discworld and I love reading Discworld. If possible, I'd also like to finish the Gwenpool series as well as the Spider-Man Renew Your Vows series. I may leave Sandman now until next year when the series comes out and then just start from scratch and go from the beginning because I want to read the Sandman as I watch it essentially. I've also got the New Mutant series I want to finish because I love Ileana and I'm loving where this series is going. I've also got the Fantastic Four series so I can read Empire as well, and Empire is another one I really want to read as well. I've also got the X-Men Legacy series I'd love to read, the new X-Men series by Grant Morrison I'd love to catch up on. I want to finish Nova and Miles Morales as well so then I can read Champions when Miss Marvel comes out. I've also got the Fable series I'd like to complete, or at least catch up a little bit on. I've got the Arrest of Dawn of X, which is just an ongoing thing at the moment. I've then also got The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea, Sleeping Giants, The Lie Tree. I mean, I have like got a couple off this list. It doesn't sound like it, but I have. There's also stuff like Queen of the Tearling, The Wrath of the Dawn, Incendiary, City of Brass, and Gods of Jade and Shadow. And then all of these comics here as well, if you can see that. So that's a lot to be getting on with, quite frankly, and I'm probably not going to get through all of that, but that's essentially some of the stuff I do want to get to as well at some point this year. And that is the end of the mid-year book Freakout tag. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below with what books you really need to read before the end of the year. I'd love to know. I'll also leave a link down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!